Welcome to the KBB Review podcast. I'm Andy Davis, and as you might be able to hear, we are live at KBB Birmingham 2026, and this is the perfect environment, of course, to talk about suppliers. In particular, what retailers look for in new suppliers, what questions are they asking, what are the deal breakers, is it all about product or all about terms? And also, when you see existing suppliers in environments like this, how important is it that face-to-face contact, and is it a chance to renegotiate or simply complain? Now, I'm very pleased to say that live in person, we have a couple of regulars. We have Liz Pantling Jones from Lima Kitchens in Milton, Keynes. Hello, Liz.
Hiya.
Hello. We have Nick Warrington from Stuart J Warrington in Macclesfield. Hello, Nick.
Hi, Andy.
Hello. And as a last-minute recruit, we have Darren Taylor from Searle Taylor in Winchester. Hello, Darren.
Hello, Andy. Hello, everyone else.
Now, Justine is currently trying to find somewhere to park her electric car, which, as it turns out, is absolutely nowhere near the NEC. And Trevor is somewhere in the building, but he's far too famous. Come and join us here. We will catch up with him tomorrow, though. We'll catch up with Trevor tomorrow. All right, so look, you're all here at the show, and in an environment where communication is all very digital, and you can have lots of Teams meetings and all that kind of thing. Liz, why are you here? Why do you take the time out to come to a show like this and to wander around? What's the objective as far as you're concerned?
It's just meeting people face to face. It is different. Being able to read their body language, it helps you build that connection with people for the good or the bad, whatever that ends up being. Also, just a refresh on what products are out there and what other people are doing. So just keeping up to date and there with trends.
What do you think, Darren? Is it about killing lots of birds with one stone? Is that what you're here for?
Well, for me, I love the networking, so that's quite important to me. But I suffer from I'm just the worst FOMO, so I'm just worried that I'm going to miss out on something in terms of some great product that I haven't seen or heard about. So it's a great opportunity to come, go up and down, horizontal, vertically, and just check every single stand and just make sure that I'm not missing out on anything, and hopefully you might find a gem.
Nick, it's a commitment to take an entire day out. I mean, it's Monday today. The showroom's presumably just about functioning without you there, I'm assuming. What makes it worth the time?
I think for me, I treat it as kill lots of birds with one stone. There's a lot of different suppliers here, and so when you boil it down that way, you can actually cover a lot of ground, see a lot of different people in a single day, rather than having different meetings and conversations in dribs and drabs. So it does work from that perspective, definitely.
Is part of it, Liz, about just getting a gauge on how everyone else is doing? Is it part of seeing other retailers, getting a bit of a vibe about whether you're there or thereabouts in terms of performance?
I think there's definitely an element of that. It's, as we've said before, it's really isolating having a business of your own. You don't get that interaction, you don't get that support, you don't get a kind of a check on what you're doing as well. So yeah, that is a really important element of it.
I mean, you're an absolute schmoozer, Darren. Let's be honest.
Thank you.
You're an expert schmoozer. But part of that is, when I grabbed you to come and do this, you were talking to 2 or 3 other retailers at the time. Are you there going, how are you doing at the moment?
Oh, yeah,
how
definitely.
Are you dealing with this?
I mean, the show is it's a time where you can actually focus on what's going around and what's going on, because we're distracted by our own businesses and our own showroom. So if we've got cover, like we all 3 of us have, hopefully, I saw the alarm go on my shop this morning, so it is open. Then we can just come here and sort of focus and enjoy. And I love catching up. So yeah, I was catching up with a couple of retailers quite far away from me, and we're all asking, are you busy? How are you finding things? Moaning about the same old things, helping one another as well, giving some advice. We're all about that, because I've always been very sharing and open about my own business. So maybe not in Winchester, but yeah, further afield. But yeah, no, I think it's a good opportunity to focus, have a look at the products, meet some of the people that you may not face to face with, that you're dealing with via email or phone or whatever, or you might have missed them when they've come to visit you. Because for me, the most important thing for me is relationship. I always say relationship first, reliability, and then price. Because without the relationship or the reliability, it doesn't really matter how much it costs, because it's never going to work.
Well, let's get into some detail of that, Nick, because you're here, you're seeing lots of brands, and some of the brands you already deal with, I'm sure, and so you're catching up with them. We'll come to that in a minute. But when you're looking around and you're seeing new brands, or you're having conversations with new brands, they want your business. That's what they're here for. They want retailers to come on their stand and they want to sell them stuff. So what's your sort of internal checklist that you have when you're talking to a new supplier? What interests you to begin with, and then what's the order of service, like Darren says, that you're looking for from them?
I mean, it can be quite difficult because we've talked this morning that some of the stands are really busy. And so if you go on there, you need to time it so that you've actually got enough time to have a decent dialogue with someone. But for me, I'm looking at the product. So is this a new product that fits with my business and what I offer? Will it be a good addition, or is it replacing something perhaps that I'm not completely happy with already? So am I looking for a new supplier? And then it's really getting a feel for how they operate and how they would be dealing with me going forward.
So it's product, but it's also terms, obviously, is as important a thing. When you go on a stand, Liz, are you basically prodding and poking and opening and closing? Is that your first?
I'm quite skittish, so approach with caution from both sides. So I kind of need to come up, poke the product a little bit, feel comfortable that it's something that I either need to know about because I'm going to come up against it, or I might want to add it to my range, and then have that conversation with the supplier to learn more about it. But I'm very much on my own terms. I much prefer doing it on kind of my own kind of circuit, even if that means I go round twice to see what it is I'm interested in and then go from there.
I mean, Darren, for you, when you walk onto a stand, people know you. They know they'll make a beeline for you, I'm sure, when you go on there. What's your quality checklist that you go through? Are you literally looking under the counter and poking it and giving it a wobble? What's your...
I guess, we've got values with our company and business, so I want to make sure that the product I'm looking at is aligned with our values. Price conditioning as well, where they are in the market, because it's difficult to tell, isn't it, with some products, I look at that, just looking for some innovation, something a bit different, something new, maybe some ideas that I might take away with myself. But really, it's just, like I said earlier on, it's like the FOMO. I just don't want to miss out on anything. There's a lot of good stands. I really like the smaller ones on the outskirts as well that sometimes you can miss. They got some nice things. I've noticed we've definitely got some Scandinavian companies here this year, which I haven't really seen before. So that's nice. One from Lithuania as well that we were talking about. So that was nice to see, because other than those few sort of gems, it is quite German heavy, isn't it? I think we would all agree with that. And what a great job they've done with their stands. The biggest stands are generally the German ones, and they're very impressive.
I suppose this is the reason why I'm asking, because, look, I'm not a retailer, so I look at things with a completely different eye than you guys do. But there's an awful lot of stuff that looks very similar to each other, right? And I'm trying to work out what would make you choose one over the other. And if it's a German kitchen that's a certain kind of price point, there's half a dozen people to choose from, right? So what makes you choose one over the other when it comes to the actual product? Are you once you got past the product, is that kind of a pre-evaluation, if you know what I mean? So the product, okay, fine, the product's good. Let's take that for granted. Now let's talk the real deal. Does that how it sort of works, Nick? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's different factors at play because obviously, I mean, if you take the German kitchen companies as an example, and I think I had a little whinge about this previously, what they're generally quite good at is giving people a patch that they're working in and allow people to breathe compared to where the nearest competitor is. And I think perhaps some of the UK-based door manufacturers could learn a thing or two from that, shall we say. So what that means practically when you come here, you might go looking on, say, a Schuller stand, and there might be a Schuller dealer half a mile away, so you can look all you like, but really they're not going to want that on display in your showroom anyway. So there's
other German kitchen manufacturers are available.
Plenty of others are available, and that's why it's good that you can go around and look on the different stands and see what's available. And you can, even within that market, there's more premium brands than others, so you can see where that might fit within your marketplace. And at least by when they're all exhibiting, you can go and see the practical differences between those products, and so that's really beneficial to be able to walk from A to B in a short distance and have that clear in your mind. Whereas if you were sort of going and seeing those separately, it's harder to remember that distinction between the two. So that's beneficial.
I mean, look, Liz, you could throw a dart from here and hit about 10 different companies that will sell you a sink or a tap. So there's a kind of agony of choice thing going on here, I think. So I'm just trying to get my head around what piques your interest in one sink over another.
So if we're going to focus on sinks, I would normally say relationship. However, I wouldn't say, honestly, we have a great relationship with any sink manufacturer. So it comes down to personal preference. So feeling the product. So that's where this definitely comes in as a crucial visit for us. So the textures of the steel sinks or the seal granite, how the wastes look, how many variations they are they things that you're being asked for or you see becoming more popular in your area? That's definitely where something like this comes into its own, and being so close makes a big difference.
Part of it, I think, is about knowing your own business so well that you know it when you see it. Like the moment you look at something, you must be able to go, Darren, I could sell that all day long.
Yeah, and I do get excited about certain products. And I think, going on from what you were saying a little bit earlier about some of these German stands, is I think they're here. Yes, it would be nice if they can try and get a couple more retailers, but I don't think it's all about that for them. I think they're supporting their existing retailers and saying to them, look what we do now. We do media furniture. We're now doing bathroom cabinets. I refer to Rock Punt stand. Other stands are available, but they've got like a golf simulator and sort of like a home cinema setup. Well, they're not selling the simulator; they're selling the media furniture that goes with it and the bar and everything. So I think what they're doing is actually supporting their retailers because they can't get out and see all of them. They're all coming along and they're saying, guess what? You're doing 2 or 3 kitchens with us a year or a month or a week. How about have a look at this other range? Oh, you're stepping into contract. We've got this new contract range. It's a lower price. So it's kind of being aware and being focused and listening to what else these retailers that are offering, more so than maybe appliances for me. I don't get too excited about sinks and taps. I'll have a quick little look. I was really impressed with the Blanco tap with the boiling water function, and apparently it is 100 degrees, so quicker. Might have to have a little look at that one as well. So, I'm mainly furniture based than appliances and taps and things.
So let's talk the next bit of that conversation. Which, okay, you like the product, you're interested, you're thinking, I'll have a bit of this. Let's talk to you, Liz, about terms, because I know that you like a good argument. Let's look at it that way.
I like things to be fair,
yeah,
and for there to be integrity.
So what's the first question you ask?
What are your terms? What improves if I display it? Because there is a difference, and just understanding that support and the support in getting to there as well. Because a lot of the time, I want to try it. If we're talking about sinks and taps or appliances, I would want to trial that before committing to it heavily. I would want to know that it performed, that there was a service backup that I was happy with. So yeah, that progress and progression and support in that area would be my key thing.
And would you ask that kind of stuff ahead of money, ahead of price?
Yeah, I think I do. I think
the issue we've got with appliances is it's a low margin product in our showrooms. Let's face it, sinks and taps are going to be fairly low margin. So I think when we're looking at appliances and working out our terms, the buying power I think is even more important on sinks and taps and things. I think 45 over 40 or 35 is a big difference. Whereas on furniture, we tend to make a bigger margin. So I think margin's really important, but I totally agree that the service, because appliances can be a lot of hassle as well, and for a low margin product in your showroom, giving you a load of hassle, unreliability on delivery, especially if you're waiting for a sink and you're waiting on a template or something like that. So it's really important, I think, that reliability is probably higher up than terms for me, because I don't think it makes too much.
Sinks and taps and service is a big thing as well. So we've had to change out a sink recently in a ceramic worktop, and the cost of doing that is huge. Yeah. It's more than what we've paid for the sink.
It's easy for them to send another sink,
and then all they do,
send you another sink, and you've still got to get on with it.
So that support is a key thing. And more, if anyone is listening to this, support and service on sinks and taps would probably change a lot of kitchen retailers' viewpoint and buying preferences.
Do you agree with that, Nick?
Completely, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where because it's appliances and sinks and taps at the sharp end of the project. So if you don't get the product when you want the product, it completely derails not only that job, but you know, we're not just sat around and having 2-week gaps between projects. So if one project gets derailed, it generally has a knock-on down the line as well. So supply and service is critical.
So what questions do you ask about that when you're in an environment like this? Because if you just go, are you reliable? And they go, yeah, of course I am, yeah. You know, what's the test of that?
Well, unfortunately, part of the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and I think that's where you have these initial conversations here. You learn about them. They'll talk to you about how much stock holding they've got. They'll tell you whether they're on a 24 or 48 hour delivery. But really, until you get down to the nitty gritty of testing that's the point whether you see whether it's true or not. And I think for me, I'm quite slow to switch. So if I'm trying a new supplier, I'll have the odd bit here and there off them, and it's generally on a project where I might order it earlier than I would usually to make sure that I've got it in plenty of time, and I'm testing them that way. And then if that works and I'm happy and I feel that I'm getting good service, I'll gradually build up. So I don't tend to flick a switch overnight and go from A to B.
So would you sign up for a display here, or would you wait and see?
I have in the past on different things, but you know, at this particular exhibition, I'm not in the market for anything new for the display, unless something really jumps out at me or someone offers me amazing terms that are never to be missed. That just can't be missed.
I definitely wouldn't sign up to anything. I'm very much a sleep on it and tried it kind of person, and it comes back to what I said earlier, understanding what that progression of support is, because it's our reputations, not the manufacturers, that are on the line, and we are a lot more fragile than those bigger brands as well, and managing any of those scenarios that can arise from a project being delayed, the knock-on effects, it could be later down the line. It's immeasurable for what we do. So being able to get the product, trial it, and have someone support you and understand that you need to work it on your own pace and work with that, I think is more likely to create a relationship that they'll benefit from us than someone who decides they're going to pop in and hound us every week. So I think there's kind of that change that's happened across a number of retailers. It's not that heavy sale anymore. It is a lot more softly look at the product. Yeah, drip feeding the information.
Because it's funny, because one of the things that's massively changed, Darren, over the years, or particularly recently, is distribution. Distribution has got a complete upheaval, and of course that has a massive effect on delivery and service and getting stuff to you. So, you know, how much do you sort of get into the nitty gritty of how this stuff is actually comes to you? Because if it's coming via DPD or whatever it is, whatever these days, it's as reliable as Amazon is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, distribution is like completely fallen wayside now, hasn't it? So, and a lot of companies are taking control of their own products, which I think is a good thing as well, and delivering them themselves. So without a big distribution company to rely on, they're probably not as quick. But I think in the kitchen business, if we're fairly organised, you know, most lead times are going to be 6 to 8 weeks anyway. So it's not like we need a sync like next day really, if we're organised and we're planning our schedules ahead. But we do when there's an issue. We might have ordered a small bowl on the left side instead of a right or something, and then we need something quick. So that's when it gets critical. But asking questions like, you know, where's it stocked? Is it stocked in Timbuktu or is it in Milton Keynes somewhere? You know, that plays a big part. And yeah, and whether they're delivering it themselves. A lot of them are using some DPDs, you know, we've come across that. And then I'll be asking about the packaging and things like that. You know, is it going to come dented, scratched, bent, whatever. But a lot of the main companies, you know, name drop Crooker, they do all their, they do use DHL, don't they? Yeah. But I never have any problems with that. But what I mean is then there's no distribution, is there? They're delivering direct and they're reliable, and you know, just like all, I'm sure the other tap companies are that are here as well. But yeah, that'd be my take on that.
And what about the price then? How in detail? Let's go to you. How in detail are you getting in an environment like this? On look, what's the money here?
I'll be honest, I've not. I don't get in too heavily into the detail, because what I usually do is I go round, I I think a bit like Liz. I'll go around and have a bit of a first scan, see what interests me, and then I'll have a revisit, go back to stands that I think I'm interested in, and I'll have a bit of a deeper conversation at that point. I will explore what pricing looks like, but generally I would expect any proper pricing conversation, that quite often happens after the show, where they follow up with you and you can have a bit more of a lengthy conversation where you've not got other people stood on the stand behind you waiting their turn. So sometimes it can be easier to take that conversation a bit further down the line than to have it and be signing up terms here today.
I think signing on the day, you mentioned this, I think that's like a bit old hat now. I don't think we're being pressured into doing that. There used to be like show offers, oh, if you order this for display, we give you another 3 and all this kind of stuff. I haven't heard any of that narrative this year, and even a couple of years ago. So I think that's changed because they realise we are kind of like a tender bunch and we're not going to jump in feet first anymore. So yeah, I totally agree. It's like, do your homework, find out. You probably get a guided price. Do you know what? It's quite frustrating because I have asked that a few times. There's somebody throwing a laser around the room for auto measuring and things like that, and this is where I've noticed at this show, the fast development in CRM systems, measuring systems, and design systems. That's where I'm quite interested in looking at. But asking for a price, and I never got to the bottom of it, so I don't even know how much it is.
But also in terms of suppliers, I think, especially in recent years, I don't believe it's just me that feels like there is more of a collectiveness between independents on the whole. We're speaking to each other more, so we're able to get kind of off the record feedback on people's experiences, and that makes a big difference to decisions as well. And we'll say, we're looking at a display, but they're only giving this off. What are you getting? And those conversations are definitely happening. So a lot of people probably already have an indication of to where things sit in terms of the market and if it's going to work for them, and going to want to have those conversations. So finding out where the retailers are, who are key champions for the product, and having those conversations away from the show or supplier visits and stuff. I think that's happening a lot more.
Suppliers and brands invest a massive amount of money in a show like this. And a lot of the time it's where, they'll have all the ASMs on the stand, they'll all have matching polo shirts, whatever it is. And a lot of the time this is where the top brass turn up. I mean, I've seen, the head of Europe for various different companies here in the last couple of days. Do you think they really understand enough about how your business works to be able to answer all the questions you have? Like, are they quite transactional? They just want to show you how brilliant their new hinge is or whatever it is. And are they prepared to have these kind of conversations with you, do you think? Liz?
Depends on the rep that you've got, I think. So I've just had an interaction where the rep is definitely trying to improve the relationship, but it was very much more, these are the products I've got, these things that I've got to tick off. But then there are others who I know will say there's nothing new, just to catch up, how's business, what can we support you with, this is what's changing later in the year, and it just being a lot more informal.
But that's an existing supplier though, isn't it? But if you're talking to somebody who doesn't know you, are they asking the right questions to you, I suppose is what I'm saying.
So I've only just got here. Ask me this tomorrow. I'll let you know.
What do you think, Darren? Do suppliers ask you the right questions?
I don't know. It's a bit hit and miss. Suppliers ask me the right question. I agree. It depends on the rep, or as they prefer to be called, ABMs, area business managers.
I'm dated. I'm showing my age.
No. I referred to an ABM as a rep, and they just look absolutely horrified. So I'm now kind of relearning this. So I don't know. I think it's down to the ABM to understand their patch, their local business on that patch, and if there's been a relationship there before, then that's easier. If you walk on the stand, they don't know who the hell you are, and I don't go around with a lanyard either, or wherever they are, so they're never going to really know who I am. And then they start dipping and diving. You walk on the design. What design software do you use? Because they know that we're using something, and so they're trying to work out, are you already on board, or if and then show their USPs. So I think there's some good ABMs actually, in all fairness, out there, friendly, that understand the business. Whether the top brass that turn up do as well, not sure. I haven't actually seen too many top brass, but I was out for dinner last night with the head of the KBBG, De Croix, a very knowledgeable chap, really knew a lot. of what's going on. So that was interesting.
You mentioned about not wearing the lanyard. I don't wear mine either because suppliers who don't know you, especially if they're on commission, they will click and zap you. And I'm not having that. Yeah. So mine's always in my back pocket.
Because we do get a lot of emails, don't you?
And then all those phone calls,
yeah,
and you put your mobile number in, and you've got one. Yeah,
they've got the lot. So yeah,
so
more undercover.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Nick, do suppliers ask you the right questions?
I think it's a mixed bag. I think there's some where you'll go on the stand and they're a bit too busy pitching their product rather than finding out about you and whether
they've got the script.
They've got a script and they're not really finding out whether their product is a fit with you or not. I think sometimes they're just like, let me show you this, let me show you this, let me show you this. And I think sometimes they could probably learn a little bit from the retailers who were pretty good at finding out what a customer's interested in before we start showing them anything. And I think that could be a lesson that they take on board on certain stands.
There are some very exciting stands and excited people on some stands. And I was on one and they were like going on about some kind of door fitting or pocket door sliding thing, which is all very exciting and interesting. And they were just like on it. And then I saw that they had a half bowl of Haribos left on their stand and they'd obviously been munching them. And they were just, really high on Haribo and was just really, really keen to tell me all about it.
Where were your Haribo?
Well,
do you know what? That's the real question.
Yeah, I did dip in and take a few with me because I just wanted some of that high.
Yeah, because this is an interesting environment, isn't it? Because this is you as the customer. You know, this is their showroom and you're walking into it. And as you say, Nick, it's not Given the customers here, which is very personal service, straight, retailers that really deal with getting to know people, they don't necessarily do it the same way, and it sort of jars with your approach to selling something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. But again, that's about the change in the environment and the sales environment in general. I think within the industry and it being more softly, we're speaking to people. I think they are trying to find more mutual ground between you and them so they can build that relationship. That is definitely something that's happening more.
All right, so let's conclude this by let's pretend I'm a new supplier, right? I've started a company, I've got a new brand of whatever it might be, sinks, taps, appliances, and I'm investing a lot of money in this show. If you were going to advise me on what to do to get as many retailers interested as possible, what would you say to me, Nick? Do I set my stand up with lots of product on it and just put lots of guys in matching polo shirts, or do I do something different?
I'm completely stumped for
Snacks
and beer.
Snacks. I'm okay without the beer. Just keeping people fueled because it's a big event and it's hard to kind of sit down and do that.
A coffee machine during the day.
Yeah. I think most people have got a coffee machine. I think they've learned that one. But maybe holding. So there are other shows where they have speakers and stuff on their stands and trying to find out maybe the year before what people might want to know about in the following year. That would attract more people to them with an interest and give them a topic other than the product to talk about. And then they can link the topic to the features of the product. So it's just a smarter way of doing it and a bit softer. And you've got a collective of people who are going to talk about the products
that's interesting
as well.
Because that's
so
you not being sold to.
Well, you are just
but it's a much more subtle approach. Yeah.
It's the same way as when we do cooking demonstrations. So you have some of your customers there, some new customers, some people who aren't, and you get that kind of shared experience and knowledge out there. So again, like I was saying about speaking to people about their experience with suppliers, it does that for them as well. So they just need to be more sly.
Yeah. What do you think, Dan? What would you advise me about setting my stand up?
Andy's taps.
Yeah.
So I would certainly say, well, first of all, the product needs to be really
I'm bringing
good.
out a tap that does 101 degrees.
Okay. Now we're interested. So,
I've literally
USP.
defied the laws of physics.
Yeah. So I'd have a friendly face on the stand as well. So maybe not yourself, like maybe employ somebody with a nice smile and friendly. So I think you need a friendly approach. You need a really good product. I think your USP needs to be clearly shown as well on the stand, just in case, because so many people walk on the stand, not want to be bothered. Also, nowadays, I think you've got to wrap it up in a retail environment. So quite often there's just taps on like Formica stands and things like that. I'd have it like over a sink, with a nice sort of kitchen cabinet underneath or something. I'd demonstrate it in the environment it's supposed to be in, so people like buy into it and look at it and see it. I'd have all my chrome, antique. You've got to have antique brass. Because that's a big seller as well. Don't worry about copper, but definitely black, antique brass, or a burnished brass or something. Obviously, go with your classic chrome. And a happy smiley face. Know your terms and tell me the benefits of having your tap over the one that does 100 degrees.
Well, it's the 1 degree, Darren. It's as simple as that. Can you imagine how much better your tea would taste with that extra 1 degree? But I just find it's fascinating because I think you can always tell the difference between some stands where they've invested a lot of money and they put everything on it. Well, it's a load of money, so we've got to make sure there's a million different things on it to see. And then there's other stands where, and they do this much more in Europe, where they'll pick like 1 or 2 big hero things, and then they'll just shine the spotlight on it and say, this is the only thing we're talking about. And then there's other stands where it's much more a brand marketing exercise. Blum are always very good at that, rather than just showing you lots of product. And then there's others where there's literally just a big long line of stuff that they they go through the script and tell you the different handles and the different whatever. And I just think it's always interesting to see whose stands are packed and whose aren't as a result.
It's difficult though, because they are trying to appeal to different people, aren't they? They've, as we've talked about, there's people here like myself where you're going on a stand and you've got an existing relationship with them, but you might be there to look at and touch and feel different, going back to sinks and taps, seeing what's available, look at new products. So they need quite a good range on their stand in order for you to be able to see the full range, rather than just looking through the catalogue as you might do in your office. But then to some extent you could go on a stand and you would just go, well, there's loads of sinks and taps on here, and would it be better for them to focus, like you say, on 1 or 2, like really this is our sort of star product, but then, and that appeals perhaps to new people, but you're sort of pushing the other people to one side. So they do have a really difficult balancing act to achieve of attracting new clients, but also being able to have stuff to show to existing clients as well. So, I don't envy them here. I really don't.
Well, look, I think we're out of time here, but thank you so much for coming. Thank you particularly for you, Darren, for jumping in and
Did I make
this.
a good Justine?
You made a good Justine. Thank you
Good.
for being Justine. And hopefully she's found somewhere to plug her car.
Let's hope so. She hasn't run out of beans.
No, but she might have to be a half-hour walk from the NEC.
Yeah, you'll go and get her.
So look, Liz, thank you. Darren, thank you.
Thank
Nick,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.